1972 Chevelle. There's 4 ways we could do this Chevelle. Neither way is wrong. One way is find out what the car had, put it back exactly like it was, don't change anything. Now, would that be wrong here? No. So when you start getting to like 1948, 1950, 1952, cars start to have a sense of specs and a sense of true reliability. And so you could go back to originality, and safety had some measures in there, so certainly you could do that there. But when you start getting to the 60s and the 70s and the muscle cars, certainly those cars were safe. Remember, it was safety that took the power out of the engine. So what is going on here and what type of restoration? Remember those 4 types we talked about? Some cars aren't a great candidate to do a purist restoration. That means put it back exactly like it was, do not change anything. Whatever the OEM manufacturers did, you just duplicate that. It's like a recipe, like Duncan Hines. Just follow the box. Add a little oil, add a little egg, and it's done. So it's the same thing here when you're dealing with this Chevelle. We can go any of these approaches. Now, the reason I say we can do a letter of the law, because in 1972, there were a lot of safety measures in place. And the Chevelle, unlike, say, the Mustang, which is a unibody, the Chevelle had a separate chassis. So this A-body car with a separate chassis was, I mean, you could put it back exactly like it was. Or you could do a spirit of that, which is what most people do, because in these cars, they just really put some power in them. Because if you had a version of the car and it didn't have that big block in it or something like that, and you always wanted that, then when you restore that make and model, you don't put it back exactly like it was, but you put it back in the spirit of it, of what it was. And you put a bigger engine in there, maybe, that capacity. That's fine as well. But in this case, this car here is 1 part Resto-Mod and 1 part hot rod. And by hot rod, I mean lots of customization, lots of one-off pieces. By Resto-Mod, I mean there are many things, such as on this chassis. There are many components on this chassis, like we use Ride-Tech. So we didn't have to do a lot of cutting. Yes, we did some welding. Yes, we had to do some plating. Yes, we had to box in and strengthen it. But we had a kit. We had a kit that we used on this car that made things easier. And when I say easier, meaning it cuts down on time, which cuts down on budget, which ultimately saves the client money. So that's the benefit of Resto-Modding. But the downside of Resto-Modding is that your car is just like everybody else's. And when you spend this kind of money on a car, you want a car that has some custom feel to it. You want a car that is completely unique, that is yours. You know, there's a funny story, or maybe it ain't so funny. There's a story of a Ferrari. This Ferrari was sold in Europe. It was sold in Europe to a buyer. A collector in Florida, years later, buys this car out of Canada. The individual in Florida pays, I think, almost $2 million for the car. So now the car is being shipped back to Florida. Customs pick up the car. Customs find the car has been stolen. Well, it was stolen from Europe. Someone purveyed it there. And so the person in Europe says, it's my car. I reported it stolen. I'm the rightful owner. So then you have the person in Florida that says, hey, I gave good US dollars to buy this car. I'm its rightful owner. And so Customs could not decide who the owner was. So they're in court right now. They're going to figure it out. And so one of the benefits of having a one-off car, you know it's yours. It's some stuff on there that only you had on your car. So this is a restoration that has a hot rod / Resto-Mod sensibility.